everyone, my name is Daniela and I'm a volunteer at For a Safer Space. Today's presentation will be on 2SLGBTQ+ stereotypes and narratives. I would like to begin this presentation with a land acknowledgement. I am conducting this presentation on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island. While it is important to acknowledge which land I'm on, it is equally as important to understand why we engage in a land acknowledgement. First, acknowledging the land is an act of decolonization. Decolonization is an act that aims to reverse colonialism. It is also significant in understanding history and acknowledging history, as well as showing respect for indigenous peoples and their relationship to the land. However, it is important to not only use a land acknowledgement, but to educate ourselves on historical and current issues, stand with indigenous peoples in the pursuit of social justice, and decolonize our thoughts and actions. Today's agenda will include a brief introduction, followed by whose story is being shared, how shared narratives impact views, stereotypes, changes in storytelling, importance of debunking stereotypes, the importance of appropriate representation, advocacy, resistance, and storytelling, and to conclude, resources and key takeaways will be discussed. Stereotypes are simplified and generalized ideologies about a particular group. A narrative is a story or a perspective that is shared. It can be inaccurate or accurate depending on the context and who is sharing the narrative. Narratives can also provide and form a knowledge base. It is common that those who belong to a marginalized group have their voices silenced by the inaccurate narratives and stories perpetuated, which can cause great harm. However, when accurate narratives are shared, it can help to resist and reshape the story, having positive impacts on social change. Whose story is being shared? It is common that those who experience marginalization and oppression often find that their voices are silenced by the narratives and stories that are consistently perpetuated. These narratives are often not questioned. This can be commonly evident with various forms of media, such as the news, social media, and television. When there is no room to question these narratives, it becomes more difficult to change these stories and what is known about a group. However, as it is the dominant narrative that is shared, when these narratives are questioned, and space is made for 2SLGBTQ+ individuals to share their stories, it can increase the depth of knowledge that is known. How shared narratives impact views. Narratives and stories can create recognition for social issues, while providing an easier way for the information to be understood. For instance, various research demonstrates that narratives can minimize feelings of defensiveness, help to educate on complex concepts, alter behaviors, and advance social change. While shared narratives on their own cannot create structural changes and reduce systemic oppression, they can help to create improved communication and assist in reducing discrimination. This is especially important as listening to others' narratives can provide a new lens of viewing the world, one that may not have been considered previously. This next section will discuss stereotypes, specifically covering how are stereotypes formed, the harms of stereotyping, the role of media, homophobia, stereotypes and harm, biphobia, stereotypes and harm, and transphobia, stereotypes and harm. How are stereotypes formed? A stereotype can be defined as a simplified ideology about a particular group. Stereotypes commonly derive and are entrenched within social institutions, culture, and society. Often stereotypes are reinforced early in childhood and can impact various interactions with others. The easiest example of this is gender stereotypes, with blue for boys and pink for girls, and how toys at a young age may be influenced by these stereotypes. These stereotypes developed in childhood are often held onto and reinforced by others and society as we grow older. When these are held onto, they can be passed on to others, which creates a cycle of perpetuating stereotypes. However, by being provided accurate narratives, it can help to deconstruct stereotypes that exist. The harms of stereotyping. Stereotypes can have lasting harm on individuals. Stereotypes require someone or society to make generalizations about a group. In doing so, there is an avoidance of recognizing the complexity and the diversity that exists within these groups. Stereotypes often also misrepresent the groups that they aim to describe. This can lead to certain beliefs about a group being perpetuated that are untrue, and these untrue ideologies can impact various aspects of daily life and expectations of an individual. For instance, stereotypes can often lead to bullying or harassment. Stereotypes often also prevail past when they are no longer a reality, which can cause harm to groups as they fail to distance themselves from the stereotype itself. Additionally, stereotypes can impact performance and behaviors negatively. A group that is stereotyped can end up reproducing their stereotype without intending to. This can commonly be labeled as stereotype threat, where the belief that being seen as a stereotype of the group one belongs to is viewed as a threat, which leads to conforming to the stereotype. The role of media. The media can play a large role in perpetuating stereotypes through inaccurate depictions of 2SLGBTQ+ individuals. Through this, it becomes significant to look at whether the media an individual consumes is beneficial in questioning representation that does exist. This can get complicated when looking at the specifics on whether or not representation is good representation or poor and harmful representation. Media is often plagued with stereotypes through the representation of 2SLGBTQ+ individuals and the interactions that occur. As well, media can also commonly use non-inclusive language, which can perpetuate certain stereotypes. For instance, this is commonly seen through misgendering non-binary individuals who use they/them pronouns. However, when media does push to use inclusive language, it demonstrates recognition of identities and respect, as well as an awareness of how inequalities exist while challenging these dominant narratives. Homophobia, stereotypes, and harm. Homophobia is often perpetuated by stereotypes. This is evident through the fact that it is common that when individuals do not fit a stereotype, that they may hide their identity. However, this ignores how 2SLGBTQ+ individuals are a part of a diverse community. Commonly seen through the interaction of homophobia and stereotypes is the aspect of queer women needing to appear more masculine, while men should appear more feminine, and that when someone does not fit into these narrow boxes, they are being deceptive. This is also commonly flipped on individuals who are told that they are trying to fit into stereotypes. These stereotypes can actively harm, as it leads to discrimination and can negatively impact those who hear the stereotypes in a variety of ways. Stereotypes can lead to prejudices of this group and discrimination that is faced. And when these stereotypes are perpetuated through various interactions, it can create less safe spaces for 2SLGBTQ+ individuals. Biphobia, stereotypes, and harm. Often the result of media depictions, stereotypes regarding bisexuality are found to be untrue and unhealthy. They can result in adverse impacts on health and social lives of individuals who identify as bisexual or another multisexuality. The purpose of separating biphobia from homophobia is because people who identify as bisexual or any other multisexuality face a different kind of discrimination on the grounds of their sexual orientation. Stereotypes often differ based on the attraction these individuals have to two or more genders. For instance, stereotypes include misguided and untrue beliefs that bisexuality is a stepping stone to coming out as gay or lesbian, that bisexuality is merely experimentation, or that bisexual men are really just gay and bisexual women are experimenting, which all cause severe harm to bisexual individuals. These stereotypes are not only perpetuated by heterosexual individuals, but often by 2SLGBTQ+ individuals as well, which can complicate experiences and marginalize individuals from their own community. Transphobia, stereotypes, and harm. Transgender or trans individuals often face great deals of stigma, which can often result in negative consequences for their mental health. There have been improvements to media depictions of trans individuals, however there are still often stereotyped and stigmatized messages. One study found that trans individuals commonly view anti-trans media on a yearly basis. As well, misgendering is another issue that is perpetuated by stereotypes that harm. Misgendering can have severe impacts on mental health. However, media that aims to discuss various trans individuals often do not use correct pronouns or names. This harmful use of misgendering is also common among individuals. These examples demonstrate only part of which stereotypes exist and the extent of which it harms trans individuals. It is evident that these stereotypes, among others, impact the views of trans individuals and how they are treated by society, which is perpetuated through discrimination and various hate crimes. Changes in storytelling. While there are still many negative depictions and a lack of available 2SLGBTQ+ narratives in the media, there has been a wide shift and increase in the media that does exist and depict 2SLGBTQ+ individuals. The narratives themselves have been changing as well, altering stories of rejection after coming out into original stories with queer characters. This can be attributed to the large increase in 2SLGBTQ+ individuals who are writing and working on these stories. This change to happier stories and narratives is imperative at providing good and impactful representation, while shifting from trauma-filled stories previously shared. This can be significant in helping to shape minds and alter viewpoints, demonstrating the diversity of the 2SLGBTQ+ community. There are several reasons as to why it is important to debunk stereotypes, the first being that they shape the way that the 2SLGBTQ+ community is viewed. This viewpoint is often seen through a narrow lens that fails to capture the diversity of the community and the individuals within it. Additionally, stereotypes actively harm. It is evident that stereotypes perpetuate harm through various means, such as resulting in negative mental health outcomes. Therefore, stereotypes need to be deconstructed to not only avoid perpetuating the stereotype, but to avoid harming others. When stereotypes are debunked, it can help to foster safer spaces for 2SLGBTQ+ individuals. And finally, the prevalence of stereotypes does not allow for other accurate stories to be shared. However, it is important for the narratives of 2SLGBTQ+ individuals to be heard, but this becomes impossible through the stigmatized narratives perpetuated by the media and society. But without these stories, it is often difficult to widen worldviews and understandings of how lived experiences are shaped by individual identities. The importance of appropriate representation. To begin, research demonstrates that the media has a large role in impacting the views of 2SLGBTQ+ individuals, particularly on younger individuals. This can be impactful as youth are at an age where they consume media and are still shaping their views of society and those in it. Having appropriate representation can teach about the 2SLGBTQ+ community and debunk stereotypes that do exist, so that they are not perpetuated onto future generations. However, appropriate representation can have an even larger impact on 2SLGBTQ+ youth. Negative images and depictions can result in internalized negative feelings for youth, many of whom may not be out. This can negatively impact them coming out and their own self-image, but when strong, appropriate, and positive depictions are shared, it can help to provide comfort and show what life can be like for them. Finally, the last topic is advocacy, resistance, and storytelling. It has become evident that 2SLGBTQ+ narratives are significant, both for other 2SLGBTQ+ individuals and in creating positive social change. Storytelling is a form of resistance and advocacy. It is a form of resistance as it counters the dominant narratives that exist, with accurate ones, in hopes to educate others. However, it can also be healing for those in the 2SLGBTQ+ community to share their stories. Furthermore, lived experience provides knowledge, and with this knowledge it can help to shape views, create action, and foster safer spaces for 2SLGBTQ+ individuals. For an immediate mental health crisis, call a local crisis line for support. For non-immediate mental health supports, a useful resource is For a Safer Space. For a Safer Space is a nonprofit that offers accessible and inclusive mental health care. Visit the website for more information if you would like to reach out for support. To conclude this video, we will go over some key takeaways. It is common that those who experience marginalization and oppression often find their voices silenced by the narratives perpetuated, which leaves little room for questioning these narratives. These narratives can impact belief systems. When they are inaccurate, they can create stereotypes and harm communities, but when accurate, they can impact views positively and push for social change. Stereotypes can cause harm in a variety of ways, particularly through how they shape knowledges about communities and generalized groups. The media plays a large role in this and can have both negative and positive impacts, dependent on the narrative shared. Homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia perpetuated through stereotypes can actively harm. However, these cases can be similar or differ based off of the specific stereotypes perpetuated. There has been an evolution within the stories shared, particularly through film and television, which can assist in shaping minds and altering viewpoints. There are several reasons as to why it is important to debunk stereotypes, which directly relate to the harm stereotypes perpetuate. Appropriate representation of the 2SLGBTQ+ community can have lasting impacts on individuals, particularly 2SLGBTQ+ youth, who see themselves reflected in a positive way. Storytelling is a form of resistance, as it counters dominant narratives that exist, while also bringing healing for 2SLGBTQ+ individuals. That concludes this presentation on 2SLGBTQ+ stereotypes and narratives. Thank you for watching.